All right, good evening, everyone. This is Terrific Comics and Pop Culture. This is Chuck here, doing a live stream, an unannounced one, just to see how it'll work and to look at some of the pop culture side of comics and pop culture, which I really like. And of course, we haven't done a whole lot with those, so it seems like a good time to do it. Just as I mentioned, I do have a couple of videos that are sort of in production and everything. With the teaching and everything, finding time to edit things takes a little while. And that has not necessarily been there. But tonight, what I wanted to look at were TV and movie reviews for superhero stuff. Because it's been really interesting, and talking to my students and whatnot, that I haven't gone to see many movies in the last 3 years. And the few movies I've gone to see have almost exclusively been superhero genre movies. Now, I'm not including stuff like Top Gun in here right now, because while that probably is more of a superhero movie, it doesn't really fit the definition. So I'm not just going to do movies, but I'm also going to do other things which are going on there too. And I think would be neat to comment on. And I look forward to seeing in the comments your opinions about these rankings. Now, there is one show on there I have not seen yet, and so I don't rank it. It has just gotten up on HBO Max, however, so I'll probably catch it at some point. But my twins have kind of aged out of that era, so we really haven't watched it. And I'm sticking with stuff that is new to 2022, not necessarily new to me, like Doom Patrol Season 3, which I just finished, which, by the way, was awesome, but I just finished it. So, and we're not including Doctor Who here, even though Doctor Who could arguably be a superhero flick. So here we are with the top shows or movies in 2022. I also want to do this before we got hit with Black Adam and Wakanda Forever and all the stuff that's coming out in the Christmas era, because they may or may not change my rankings. In fact, I'm hoping they will, as a matter of fact, really improve things. And I will also say that, at least for me, that it really, to me, there's a big gap between my top three and everybody else. Everybody else is just kind of there. My lowest are really low. So for me, there's a gap between the lowest three, then you sort of got a middle tier, and then you have a top 2 or 3, which are definitely in the top. So it's kind of a strange place to be right now. So we'll take a look. Let's see here. Okay, good. All right, good. I'm also learning how to play with some of these formats here, so my apologies if I start doing some weird things with layouts. I'm learning. So just real quick here for the criteria. It must have been released in a theater or on streaming service, and it doesn't have to be necessarily comic related. So I do have one thing on here that doesn't directly have a comic associated with it yet. I would be stunned if someone has not already optioned it. If they haven't, then what are people doing? But we never ask questions we don't want answers to, and that's certainly a case there. So here are my candidates, and we'll go on ahead and just take myself out of it there. You have Morbius, you have the Batman movie, Thor, Love and Thunder, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, Doctor Strange, should be Multiverse of Madness, not Multi-Universe of Madness. My students love playing, catch the typos in Mr. Hensey's presentations, and there we are right there. We have Ms. Marvel, Moon Knight, She-Hulk, Young Justice Season 4, and the Legion of Super Pets, which I have not seen yet. So, but I hope to at some point soon. So anyways, so this is going to be from worst to first. So here we go. So at number 9, we have Morbius. Yeah. So we all kind of knew Morbius was going to be a bit of a cluster, and it did not live down its promise. No offense to Jared Leto, who is a very talented actor and who is extremely gifted, but that was just a hot mess. And, I'm glad I watched it on Netflix. I can say I've seen it, but not again. Not really interested in seeing it again. And so, yeah, so I'm just as happy that that is not taking place again, because once was enough. And for me, that was really and truly more than enough, as a matter of fact. And I'll be quite honest, it makes me glad that, I kind of passed on the last Venom movie too, because Sony, I don't think Sony really knows. Outside of doing a Spider-Man movie, they don't really know what they're doing. And that bothers me a lot. They don't really feel like they know what they're doing at all. And, bless them. It's just painful. That's all I can say. It is just painful right now. So next up, we have Thor: Love and Thunder. And yeah, Thor: Love and Thunder is Thor and Love and Thunder. And this is another one of those movies where, quite honestly, they should have had an editor. And the frustrating thing is, I really like Taika Waititi. I really do. But as we've seen with the Thor movies right now, the Thor movies are either really good or unimaginably bad. And there is nothing really in between. I guess this is in between, because it's better than Thor 2. But that, again, is not hard. I think everyone has politely forgotten how, oh my God, awful Thor 2 was. And yeah, the Love and Thunder movie, if it had a coherent plot in it, I missed it. Now, I didn't read the Gore the God Butcher stuff when it came out in comics, so that could be part of the problem. But I'll just be honest, this thing was a mess. And it's a shame. I like Natalie Portman. I'm really glad they spent more time with Valkyrie, a character I love. But they needed an editor. They needed someone to put together to make the story clearer, to make it better. And it wasn't there. So it wasn't there. All right, next up we have Moon Knight. We're going into the Disney Plus stuff. I am not the biggest Moon Knight fan in the world. So I did not go into it with high expectations. The special effects at times were wonderful. The first episode or so were really good. And then, yeah, it reminded me a lot of other Moon Knight stories I've ever seen, where I just kind of got bored and lost interest. That's not to say that if they do a second season that it won't be any good. That's not to say I won't necessarily skip a second season, because I think I'll probably tune into it. Oscar Isaac was great. He was fantastic. He did a great job in differentiating between the personalities. The knock's not on him. It's bad when you start on a series and you stop watching it and everyone looks around about 3 weeks later and goes, were we going to finish Moon Knight? And the collective answer was sort of a shrug. And yeah, there's a collective feeling of a shrug. So, but maybe they can do more. I would love to see him more tied in with the Marvel Universe, and I think you can certainly do that. Next up, we have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, or not the multi-universe, but the Multiverse of Madness. See my comments on Thor: Love and Thunder. I really was looking forward to this movie. I like America Chavez. I like what they've done with Wanda. I like Benedict Cumberbatch. I will watch just about anything he's been in. And God knows I've watched some things with him that were not very good. And I am thrilled to watch him. This thing was a hot mess. And again, listening to a lot of the scoopers and reviewers talking about the fact that, it underwent massive rewrites and massive script changes and new ideas. And it really felt like it. it almost felt like, if I can use an analogy, as a teacher of a kid who had an idea for what they wanted to write for a paper, started doing some of the research, and with about 4 hours to spare, just sort of threw it away and took 2 paragraphs in one draft and 2 paragraphs of another one and tacked on an ending paragraph and called it a day and said, wow, this really looks good. And then they looked at it 48 hours later and went, oh my God, this is unintelligible. And I think that's what we got here. It was especially frustrating. They're talking about doing a Scarlet Witch movie. And I'm not sure, I'm going to try not to spoil any of these. You're going to have a hard time walking Wanda back and redeeming her after this movie. I think that's going to require a level of, that's going to be really hard to do. And it's a shame. And of course, they're doing that with the most prominent female Avenger right now. So, it's very frustrating. Again, I wanted to like the movie. It felt like the young lady playing America Chavez was wasted. She's not there for anything more than a plot point, and it's very frustrating. Hello. I hope if you're here, please leave a comment, say hello. We'd be glad to see you. So just kind of going back here, we've been ranking these things from worst to first. And so far right now, we started with Morbius at number 9, Thor, Love and Thunder at 8, Moon Knight at 7, and Doctor Strange at 6. So 5, we have the new Batman movie. I am not the biggest Bat fan in the world. It was a fine movie. I think like a lot of the critics said, I think you could have cut about half an hour out of it and no one would have been the wiser, and it wouldn't have broken our hearts. The Riddler was really impressive. I think that's one of the most interesting versions of the Riddler I've seen in a long time. A very menacing one. I don't think I've seen anything like that really since some of the late 80s, early 90s Batmans, where they really tried to make him scary. I like the new version of Cobblepot. That was a lot of fun to see. Kind of ambivalent about their interpretation of Catwoman, and Patterson was fine. I think my issue with Batman is that Batman, kind of as a franchise, I think we're getting to the point with Batman where I've had enough Batman for a while, and maybe we have fewer Batman movies for a little bit. Now, I know it seems to be the only thing DC can do well, but a little bit less Batman maybe would be good. Now, I'm not including Peacemaker on this list since Peacemaker was last year, but I will tell you, quite frankly, Peacemaker is one of the best things that I think DC's done in a couple of years, which is really saying a whole lot. It would be interesting to see Patterson's Batman interact with Peacemaker, though. I think that would be that might be really interesting. So, an interesting contrast between them. All right, next up we have what I just finished this week, which is She-Hulk Attorney at Law. And She-Hulk and Batman, for me, are kind of at the same level where I think if editing had been better, I would have enjoyed it more. I liked She-Hulk at times. I thought it was really, really good at times. I wish they had embraced the fourth wall breaking a bit more than they did. They didn't really embrace it that much, which really disappointed me because I really wanted to see more of it. And it felt like it was just there as a gag until it wasn't. And yeah, I don't know. It was just kind of frustrating. I think I will also echo what a lot of critics said, was that it didn't feel like the special effects didn't feel that special in this show. That much being said, I thought some of the interactions with the other lawyers were good. I enjoyed seeing Matt Murdock in there. I don't think that's really a big spoiler since he's been all over the place. I think Charlie Cox is fantastic, and he brought a nice addition to this, as did Mark Ruffalo too. I like Tatiana I can't pronounce her last name, but the woman who did Jennifer Walker, she's a fine actress. Again, I don't know, the writing at times left me a little, that didn't really work for my interpretation of Jen. But for the most part, it was a lot of fun. It was great seeing Ella Guila on screen. he's a character. He's one of those obscure characters I like, and it was nice to see him. And I hope he comes back when they actually had the money to make his sword actually shoot lightning and stuff, and do things, and actually have him do something besides being a punchline in a group shot. So, but it was nice to see him there. It was good to see him. Again, She-Hulk gets a rank of number 4. That might go up depending on how they decide to use her in the ongoing MCU. Then we get sort of a break up to sort of a bigger tier of people. We have Ms. Marvel at number 3. Now, this is a show that really divided a lot of fans, which was frustrating. And it's a show that frustrated me at times. It needed better writing. It needed more episodes. And I will say She-Hulk suffered from the same problem, I think, where I think Moon Knight had too many episodes. I think both Ms. Marvel and She-Hulk did not have enough. And I just realized I left something off here, so I'll mention it as a caveat in just a minute. Ms. Marvel was really strong in its casting. It was really strong with its use of characters. Her supporting cast were amazing. They felt like a real family. They felt like an immigrant family. And I thought the young lady doing Ms. Marvel was really good. I enjoyed her. As someone who works with teenagers, she sounded like a teenager. She felt like a teenager. And I have a lot of hopes. Again, the story in the middle, they kind of lost what they were trying to do, I think. But I've rewatched it since it finished, and it holds up pretty well. Clandestine's not really great. That's not really news to anybody. Ms. Marvel does suffer from the fact that she doesn't have a really fantastic rogues gallery right now. I think of her as a new character, but she's not that new anymore. I think of her as still being new, but when I look up, the Ms. Marvel series, she's 2014. And, as my students are more than happy to remind me, 2014 wasn't that long ago, Mr. Hensing. And you're right, it wasn't that long ago. So yeah. So, but I thought it was really well done. It was a lot of fun. It was really well done. And I would watch Her Family in a heartbeat. I think Her Family would make for a great sitcom in many ways. So yeah. Number 2, I have Young Justice season 4, and really there's a tie with that with the show which I forgot to put on here, which is Werewolf by Night. So I'll mention that alongside with this. Right now, for me, they're 2 and 2A. I have enjoyed the Young Justice series really since it came out. They pursued their own continuity and stayed faithful to it, for better or for worse. And sometimes it's really, really good. And sometimes you just kind of scratch your head and go, really? You did what now? But they are consistent within themselves. And I like that. It's also been great they've been able to keep almost all the same voice talent throughout. And the way they capped off this season made sense. I will be curious to see, though, if they continue doing the show. And I know there's talk they'd like to do a 5th season. They certainly have set up for it. What if they're going to retire those 2 characters permanently to the background, or if they're going to consider continue being prominent in that situation? And I don't know. They might not. And I'm kind of 2 minds on that one. I think it would be kind of nice if maybe they sort of retired those 2 characters for good right now. I think their story has kind of hit a logical conclusion for them. So, but that's just me there feeling that way. I will say 2A is Werewolf by Night. I loved Werewolf by Night. I thought it was fantastic. I love the old horror genres. I love old horror movies. And so for me, Werewolf by Night was a real gas. Plus, I like Marvel horror. I have collected Marvel horror for a long time. No, I don't own a Tomb of Dracula one. That's one of the only ones I don't own, which sucks, but that's another story. But I'm a big fan of that stuff. I think it was a perfect opportunity to bring in Moon Knight, for example. I think that would have been a lot of fun, and I'm sorry they didn't do it. I'm also sorry they didn't bring in the actual Marvel Universe Marvel Hunters, Monster Hunters. They had a brief cameo. I think it was Marvel Universe 3 through 5. You could have backdoored Dr. Druid into continuity if you'd wanted to. Not that I think anybody really wants to outside of 3 or 4 of us, but nevertheless, that would have been really cool. But they didn't do that, so say we all. But I love Werewolf by Night. That was so much fun. The woman who played Elsa Bloodstone is really good. I've enjoyed her in the Nevers, and I hope she gets back. I hope she comes back. And their use of Ted, who I've never been a big fan of in the comics, I actually liked him here. And that is a fairly major achievement, actually, for a character who I do not really care for. So we can put Young Justice and Werewolf by Night together. The only big complaint I have with Young Justice season 4 is how it ended. And the fact that everyone writing a certain character, well, it's been out for a while, I don't want to necessarily spoil it, seems to have only 2 ways they can approach this character. And that is to keep this character pure and innocent and wonderful, or to try to turn them into some evil, to make them evil and, for lack of a better word, slutty. And unfortunately, Young Justice looks like they're going to embrace the more Grant Morrison Countdown. I guess it was Countdown. It was because it wasn't New 52. I guess it was Countdown, where they kind of embrace this interpretation of the character, and I don't like it. But that's me. I will say with Young Justice, they did a good job of integrating the Legion, a group that I, quite frankly, could give 2 figs less about. And there's some talk about doing a Legion series, and I'll check into it just to see it. But yeah, the Legion is not my thing. So, but they did a good job here. So I did not hate it. And they did a real interesting tie-in to explain the origin of one of the races of one of the Legionnaires, which I thought was a really neat tie-up. And oh yeah, Metron of the New Gods, he is an SOB. And they had hinted at this in prior seasons, and yeah, he's a real SOB. So, which was kind of cool, actually. So I gotta admit. Lastly, this is not a Marvel, this is not a DC. And I think you could argue this is not even a superhero movie, but I don't care. My list, I'm gonna put it on here. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. This movie rocked. It is the only one on the list here that I actually saw in the movie theater. And we saw it twice. My wife and I went and saw it once. Then when the Dynamic Duo were home from college, we made sure the Dynamic Duo saw it. It just was incredible. I love Michelle Yeoh. The whole, it was just a fascinating film. And well, I am looking forward to Black Adam because I love the JSA. Black Adam's not going to replace this. World of Wakanda might. And I kind of hope it does. I'd really like to see another great movie. But right now, Everything Everywhere All at Once is my top movie for the year. Is even my top non-superhero movie for the year. But I will tell you, it's been a rough year of superhero movies, for movies in general. I think they've all just kind of been garbage, and that's made it really hard to enjoy. So wanted to mention those things. Again, if you're watching this on replay, which looks like just about everybody, please leave some comments as to what you thought about things. What are you looking forward to? There's some more stuff coming out that I'm looking forward to. I want to see some good movies. I really want to see things that I enjoy, that are fun, and which excite me. And, hopefully that will come about. And by the way, I really want to see Michelle Yeoh get Best Actress for Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. I really, really want to see that happen. I think she can. I certainly hope she does. I'd love to see Ke Huy Quan get Best Supporting Actor. I think that would be fantastic if that happened. Um, do I think it's going to happen? No. Um, but it would be really nice if it did. And so maybe it will. Like I said, it's been a weird year in movies. So maybe it will. And I certainly hope it will. So that's all I have. If you are looking to find me, you can find me at Terrific Comics and Pop Culture. You can find me on Instagram at Chuck Hensing. If you're looking to see me in person for some reason, I will be at GarageCon. Looking forward to GarageCon in November in Charlotte. Should be a lot of fun. We will be there, and it will be a blast. We went last year and had a really good time, and look forward to having a good time again this year. So, with that, have a wonderful evening, and be seeing you.